I loved Liam for 7 years. When I was kidnapped, he refused to pay the ransom, all because his female assistant suggested he use the opportunity to teach me a lesson. I endured a hellish ordeal. When I finally learned to stay away from him, he came crying and begging for another chance. The day I walked barefoot into the city, I made the news. The adopted daughter of the wealthy Hayes family, kidnapped for months, had returned in tattered, filthy clothes, her feet covered in sores, looking like a stray dog. I watched the reporters' flashing cameras, each one trying to capture my pathetic state. My heart was a stagnant pool, no longer capable of a single ripple. The old me was dead. The bright, innocent, vivacious girl was gone, destroyed by the kidnappers, and by Liam. Soon, a group of bodyguards in black suits cleared a path through the crowd. The leader, a man named Ethan, I knew him. In the 7 years I had chased after Liam, he was the one who had always escorted me out of his office and private apartment. Escorted was a generous term. It was more like being dragged out, because of my relentless persistence, and because of Liam's utter disdain. "Miss Quinn," Ethan said, his eyes widening in shock for a moment when he saw my condition. "Mr. Hayes is waiting for you in the car. Please come with me." I nodded and, with my injured feet, left a trail of bloody footprints on the pavement. The pain was a distant, numb sensation. This short walk was nothing compared to my escape. Ethan, walking behind me, couldn't help but call out, "Miss Quinn." I didn't answer him. Pity me? He should be grateful. After this, I would never bother Liam again, never cause him any extra trouble. In the car, I saw him, Liam, sitting with his eyes closed, his dark hair impeccably styled, his handsome features flawless. Yes, in my absence, he must have felt an unprecedented sense of peace and relief. He looked better than ever. Hearing the door open, he slowly opened his eyes. The moment he saw me, he barely recognized me. "Quinn?" I nodded obediently. Yes, I had learned my lesson. Before, I had never cared about my status as an adopted daughter, had acted as if I were a real Hayes, proud and arrogant. But after being kidnapped, I understood. My life was in his hands. If he didn't pay the ransom, I was worthless. He frowned, a look of displeasure on his face. "What have you done to yourself?" "This? What is this? A madwoman? A beggar?" I had escaped through dozens of miles of wilderness, day and night, not just from the kidnappers, but from the wild animals in the forest. I had drunk rainwater when I was thirsty, and had rummaged through trash cans by the highway when I was hungry. I think anyone would have gone mad in that situation. I knew what he meant. He was angry that I had appeared before the media in this state, that I would cause trouble for his company, or more accurately, for the Hayes family's company. "I'm sorry," I said. "Sorry for soiling your eyes." Hearing my answer, he paused for a moment, then a small smile touched his lips. She was right. You really have learned your lesson. I didn't understand what he was talking about. When the car door closed and the engine started, he suddenly reached for me. I instinctively recoiled into a corner, but he stopped, his voice filled with disgust. "Quinn, you reek." Perhaps because of the enclosed space, he had finally noticed the foul odor clinging to me, a mixture of blood, sweat, and the stench of dirt and garbage. At his words, I immediately tried to get off the seat. The car swerved, and I fell to my knees in the aisle. I'm sorry. I won't get the seats dirty. I'll just kneel here. It hurts so much. My knees. The kidnappers had pricked them with thin steel needles. They had been angry that he wouldn't pay the ransom, that they had wasted their time, so they had taken it out on me. I couldn't get up, so I just knelt there in the small space. He was instantly furious. "What are you doing? Get back in your seat." He ordered me, but he didn't help me up. He found me too filthy. I had to obey. With great effort, I pulled myself back onto the seat. The pain, combined with my low blood sugar from the past few days, forced tears from my eyes. He had always been indifferent to my tears, finding them annoying. But this time, for some reason, he threw his handkerchief, which he had just used to wipe his hands, at me. I clutched the clean, white cloth. Before, I would have been overjoyed. But now, it was just a stark reminder of my own filth and brokenness. Ethan, in the rearview mirror, glanced at me. I kept my head down. He had probably never seen me so pathetic. Back at the Hayes mansion, he ordered the maids to take me to the bathroom. I refused their help, only asking them to pick out a long dress from my closet, one that would cover my ankles. After a long search, they finally pulled out a conservative, long-sleeved dress, almost like a school uniform, from a corner of my designer-filled closet. No one had ever defined what a student should wear, but looking at myself in the mirror, my new, subdued style did make me look more like one. I remembered, before I was kidnapped, I had received an acceptance letter from a top design school abroad. But now, it had been 3 months since the start of the semester. "Thank you." The maids were shocked. They never expected the young miss to thank them. But after this ordeal, I understood. I was no different from them. They were the Hayes family's employees. And I was their adopted daughter. When I came out, I saw him waiting for me at the top of the stairs. He was leaning against the railing, his gaze sweeping over me with a lazy indifference, followed by a sneer. "Quinn, what kind of game are you playing now? Dressed like that? Plain?" He thought this was another one of my childish attempts to get his attention. But I just wanted to hide my scars. I followed him to the dining room. It was silent. Only when he gestured for me to come forward did I see his parents at the table, their faces filled with worry. The moment his mother saw me, she rushed over, her steps unsteady, supported by a young woman. "Mrs. Hayes, don't worry. Miss Quinn is back, safe and sound." "Miss Quinn, Mrs. Hayes has been so worried about you, her hair has turned white." I knew this woman. She was his assistant. Her name was Ava. She had long, straight black hair and was dressed in a simple, high-necked sweater and jeans, a beautiful rose gold necklace around her neck. "I'm safe and sound." In contrast, his mother's hair had turned white with worry. With just one sentence, she had turned me, the victim, into the unfilial daughter. His mother held me and cried. The woman comforted her. But I couldn't cry. I looked at him. His eyes seemed to say that I was a heartless person. Finally, his father spoke, his voice stern. "Stop it. Let Quinn eat." His mother wiped her tears. My fault, my fault. My dear, you've suffered so much. You must not have eaten well. Come, I made your favorite fish soup." His mother pulled me to a seat between her and his father. He sat across from me, and Ava sat next to him. Like a real family. I looked at the food in my bowl. It was so colorful, so fragrant. I had almost forgotten what real food looked like. I wanted to just grab it with my hands and shove it in my mouth. The closer I had gotten to the city, the stricter the sanitation had become. I couldn't find any more trash cans, which meant no more food. I had been starving for 3 days, eating only leaves. Under their watchful eyes, I forced myself to pick up my chopsticks and eat. Even so, I still saw the mocking look in her eyes. She ate in small, elegant bites, highlighting her own refinement. He saw it too, and his disgust for me grew. But at his mother's prompting, he had to put a piece of sweet and sour pork in my bowl. I had thought that even the most unappetizing food would be a feast to me now. But looking at the tempting piece of pork, knowing that it was from him, a wave of nausea washed over me. "Dear, eat up. Liam knows you like sweet and sour, so he had the cook make an extra dish." Nonsense. He had no idea what I liked. In fact, I knew all of his favorites. For example, he loved rose gold. Seeing the hesitation in my hand, his father asked with concern, "What's wrong, dear? Did you and Liam have a fight on the way back?" "Don't worry. After dinner, I'll deal with him." "Dad," he cried out, probably feeling that it was embarrassing in front of her. I shook my head and, overcoming my physical revulsion, put the pork in my mouth. But the moment I swallowed, I threw it up. He stared at me, shocked. I immediately stood up and cowered in a corner. I'm sorry. I'll eat it. Please don't hit me. Everyone was stunned. His mother started to cry again and rushed to hug me. Did those people hurt you, dear? Tell me, did they? His father and he also came over. His father's face was full of pity. But he just frowned, his face dark, saying nothing. What did he mean? Hadn't the kidnappers threatened his family, saying that if they didn't pay the ransom, their adopted daughter would suffer? And now he was asking me if I had been abused? Eating a stale bun and a bowl of spoiled rice. That probably didn't count as abuse. After all, what I had eaten later was more like slop. I was just so scared. Scared of the feeling of my life being in his hands. The kidnappers had negotiated with him directly, and he had chosen to abandon me. He hated me that much. I think that's where the physical revulsion came from. After dinner, I was called into his father's study. He, who was usually so decisive in business, was now patient and kind. Dear, you've liked Liam since you were a child. Do you still like him? I shook my head vigorously, so hard that my cheeks hurt. I had liked him for 7 years, had been humble for 7 years, had been in pain for 7 years. But I had a short memory. So this time I had experienced a hellish retribution and torture. I didn't dare to like him anymore. Hearing my answer, his father was silent for a moment, then said with regret, sigh. Well, even if you can't be a Hayes daughter-in-law, you will always be a Hayes daughter. You are so good, so beautiful. It's that boy's loss. He took a bank card from his drawer. This is from your parents. There's $4 million in it. They asked me to keep it for you and give it to you as a dowry when you grew up. $4 million. The ransom was also $4 million. During my kidnapping, I had also resented my parents. Why hadn't they taken me with them? Why had they left me to suffer like this? But it turns out they had left me with a way to live a good life. They loved me so much. I bit my thumb to keep from crying out. Thank you, Uncle. When I came out of the study, it was already 8 o'clock. I was heading to my room when I ran into him. He knew what I was planning. His voice was surprisingly gentle. Ava is staying in your room tonight. You can stay in the guest room next to mine. So it was for her. I nodded and started to walk in the opposite direction. When I had first moved into the Hayes mansion, he had hated me and had moved to the room farthest from mine, one at the east end of the house, and the other at the west. But my room had been decorated by a top luxury designer. The guest room couldn't compare. But in the end, it was their house. If he wanted me to move, I would move. I had only taken a few steps when he called out to me. Quinn, why are you so obedient now? I turned and saw that his expression was a mixture of mockery and concern. I'm sorry, I said, hesitating. Besides apologizing, I didn't know what to say to him. This is the 3rd time you've apologized to me today. You're acting very strange. He walked over and, bending down, reached for my forehead. I flinched back as if I had been electrocuted. When I steadied myself against the railing, my legs were so weak I could barely stand. He looked at me as if I were a madwoman, his expression turning to impatience. I forced the tremor from my voice. I'm moving out tomorrow. I've already spoken to Uncle. I had thought he would be relieved to hear this, that he would let me go. But instead, he became angry. Moving out? Why? I just let her stay in your room for one night. She's a guest. What's wrong with you being a little accommodating? I shook my head frantically. That's not it. He walked towards me, his face dark, and grabbed my wrist, pulling me towards the east end of the house. Come with me. I have something to say to you. A wave of terror washed over me. I tearfully took out the bank card his uncle had just given me. I'm sorry. I have money. Don't hit me. I have money. Don't hit me. He stopped and looked back at me, shocked. I had collapsed to the floor, my wrist still in his grip. Quinn, what are you talking about? At this point, my lips were turning purple. Looking at his approaching face, I started to remember the kidnapper's words. A dog of the Hayes family, trying to cling to her master. Brother Liam, no, Mr. Hayes. I won't bother you anymore. I don't dare. He finally realized that something was seriously wrong with my mental state. His movements became much gentler. He wrapped his arm around my waist and lifted me from the floor. The feeling of weightlessness made me instinctively wrap my arms around his neck. His stern expression finally softened a little. Quinn, I'm not telling you not to bother me. It's just. Before he could finish, the door to the hallway opened with a click. Ava peeked her head out of my room, the light from inside bright. She covered her mouth, feigning surprise. Mr. Hayes, Miss Quinn. He was annoyed. The room is yours. What else do you need? She replied, with a hint of grievance, there's a video conference with the U.S. branch. It requires your personal attendance, Mr. Hayes. He glanced at me in his arms and then reluctantly put me down. I was so stiff I couldn't speak. Wait for me in my room. He left me with those words and walked towards her. The two of them went into the room and closed the door. The bright light in the hallway vanished. I felt a sense of relief, as if I had just survived a disaster. A cold sweat had soaked through my clothes. He wouldn't be back. I knew her tricks. Countless times, on my birthday, on my graduation, he had been called away by her just like this. Perhaps he really wanted to go, and really didn't want to come back. And I had to leave as soon as possible, to a place where I couldn't see him. I was afraid that if I had any more contact with him, I would have a complete mental breakdown. I sat on the bed in the guest room until 3 a.m. Not a sound came from his room next door. In the meantime, I used the new phone his mother had bought for me to find a secure, furnished apartment for rent. As dawn was breaking, the house was silent. I tiptoed out, carrying my shoes. Outside, I saw someone leaning against his car, playing on his phone. I was startled, afraid it was him. The person heard me and looked up. I realized it was Ethan. I pretended not to see him and walked past, heading for the street to hail a cab. But he followed me. Miss Quinn? Mr. Hayes knows you. Please don't tell him. I tried to keep my voice steady. I was so close to escaping. Why did I have to run into him now? He was a little confused. Mr. Hayes will be worried. I shook my head and started to take off my clothes. He quickly stepped back and turned his head, his ears turning red. Miss Quinn, what are you doing? I was unconcerned. If I could live, what did shame matter? That was something he had already stripped away from me. He won't be worried about me. These scars. He's the one who had those kidnappers leave them on me. At this point, he looked at me. My jacket was off, revealing a white tank top underneath. My arms were covered in purple whip marks, blue bruises, and several scabbed-over cuts. He was in disbelief. The horrific injuries were beyond his comprehension. I took advantage of his daze and quickly put my clothes back on, pleading, Ethan, please, let me go. Otherwise, I'll die. This was the first time I had ever called him by his name. Before, I had always called him Liam's dog, just as the kidnappers had called me. He was speechless for a long time. I quickly ran to the street to hail a cab. Suddenly, a large hand grabbed me. After a moment of judging where my injuries were, it quickly retracted. I was on the verge of tears. Please. He gritted his teeth, his voice firm. You won't be able to get a cab at this hour. I'll take you. ? I sat in his car, my feelings a complicated mess. He turned off the dash cam, just in case. Just hang in there. We'll be there soon. He thought I was reluctant to be in his car. And he was right. But as long as I could escape him, this was a small price to pay. We arrived at the apartment complex I had arranged. I texted the agent that I wanted to move in immediately. For the sake of the commission, he was there early, with the contract and keys, a wide smile on his face. He, not feeling at ease, came up with me to see the apartment. It was a nicely furnished loft. Though it was small, it had everything I needed. 120 square meters. It's the biggest apartment in our complex. Whether you're living alone or with a boyfriend, it's more than enough. I looked at him. He was silent, his head bowed as he read through the contract. He then asked about the utilities, the air conditioning. When he was satisfied, he handed it to me. I don't know why, but I trusted him. Perhaps it was because of all the times he had dragged me out of his office, and I had kicked and screamed, and he had never gotten angry. Or perhaps it was because of the time he had found me in a bar and had beaten up the men who were trying to grope me, on his orders. Without a second thought, I signed my name and handed the agent my bank card. He swiped it, flattered us both for a few minutes, and then left, happy. In the empty room, with just the two of us, he suddenly became a little awkward. "Miss Quinn, I should be going back." I nodded, wanting to write him a check to thank him. That was my old habit. But then I realized my pockets were empty. Right. I had left with nothing. I had intended to take a few personal items, but my own room had been taken over. Let alone a checkbook. "Ethan, how can I thank you?" He was a little surprised. No need. I didn't say anything more. Even if he needed my help in the future, I would not refuse. He left. He had to go back to work. Before he left, he said, "Get some rest." Of course, I was going to rest. In fact, a thought even crossed my mind: I can finally rest. Dozens of miles of road. I had slept in the rain shelters of farmers' fields, in the low branches of trees. Slept was an exaggeration. I had been on high alert the whole time, wary of the people who were after me, of the wild animals. Back at his house, I had been on edge the whole time, waiting for a chance to escape. So when I was sitting on the soft bed in the guest room, I had repeatedly pinched the soft flesh of my inner thigh, just to stay awake. I took off my shoes and went upstairs to the bedroom. The large bed had only a bare mattress. I hadn't had time to buy any furniture. But fortunately, the loft came with blackout curtains. I pulled them shut, collapsed onto the mattress, and fell into a deep sleep. I was woken up by a loud bang on the door, the sound echoing through the apartment, through the entire hallway. But I had slept for so long that I just sat up in bed, not moving, my limbs still not quite awake. Until the lock on the door hit the floor with a thud. I snapped back to reality. Who? The kidnappers? Or him? I quickly looked for something to defend myself with, but the room was bare. So I got up and went downstairs. In my panic, I missed a step and fell. "Quinn!" A clear voice rang out. I looked up and saw him, holding a shopping bag, standing outside my door, panting, his expression tense. He rushed over and helped me up. "Are you okay?" I was still in a daze, not knowing what was going on. Outside the door, a locksmith was putting a new lock on the door, then packing up his tools. "Oh, young lady. Your boyfriend was knocking for 2 hours, and you didn't even open the door." He was so worried. I held my head, still a little groggy. In my sleep. I really hadn't heard anything. The locksmith continued, "I heard you have depression, right? Your boyfriend was so scared you would hurt yourself. He was so anxious. Listen to me, a pretty girl like you. You can do anything. Don't do anything stupid." I looked at him. He was a little embarrassed. He let go of me and walked over to the locksmith. "Sir, please don't say that. I'm not her boyfriend." "How much for the lock?" After paying the locksmith, the man gave him a "I know what you're up to" look and, before he left, said to me, "Young lady, this young man. I think he's a good one. You should give him a chance. He slammed the door shut, not daring to look at me. I'm sorry. I was afraid you were in the house. So I called a locksmith. But I didn't say anything. I knew he was a direct person. Whatever he was feeling was always on his face. He must have been really worried just now, which was why the locksmith had made that assumption. It's okay. I was just sleeping. Actually, he didn't have to worry. If I weren't a person who cherished my life, I wouldn't have crawled back from hell. I licked my dry, chapped lips. Seeing this, he took a bottle of milk from the shopping bag he had just dropped on the floor, opened it, and handed it to me. I took it and sipped it slowly. It was cold, as if it had just come out of the fridge. He seemed to know that I used to only drink my milk cold. He looked around the house, then his gaze fell on me. He noticed that I was still wearing a long-sleeved dress, though it was a little wrinkled. He asked, confused, "How long have you been sleeping?" I thought for a moment. A couple of hours? Hadn't he just said he had been knocking for 2 hours? His expression became strange. Think carefully. It's been 2 days since you signed the contract. 2 days? I was surprised. He was in casual clothes, but I clearly remembered him wearing a suit this morning. It turns out I had been sleeping for 2 days and 2 nights, without food or water. He already knew the answer. He ran a hand over the table. A layer of dust. From the moment I had moved in, I hadn't cleaned the apartment. He took off his black jacket and threw it on a chair. The movement sent a cloud of dust into the air. You sit here. I didn't know what he was planning. I walked over and sat on his jacket. He rolled up his sleeves and went into the bathroom. After a lot of noise, he came out with a wet rag and started to wipe the dining table, then the coffee table, the wardrobe. You rest for a while. After I'm done cleaning, I'll take you to dinner. Take me to dinner? I was surprised. And him, doing housework. He was his bodyguard. A man who spoke with his fists. I had never imagined he would be so meticulous. About an hour later, he had finished wiping the floor. He went into the bathroom to wash the sweat from his face and came out. Have you been waiting long? The young man's damp hair, with a few drops of water falling from the tips, tracing a path down his rugged features, framed a naturally roguish smile. I nodded, dazed, then shook my head. He let out a hearty laugh and was about to reach out and pat my head, but then he seemed to remember something and pulled his hand back. Let's go. I stood up. He picked up his jacket. Do you like Hangzhou cuisine? Sweet things. I heard the young ladies all say it's good. The young ladies. They must have been his employees. He sometimes had to deal with them. Had he actually gone out of his way to ask for restaurant recommendations? Hearing him say this, I was starting to feel hungry. After all, I had been sleeping for 2 days and 2 nights. And that day at his house, I hadn't eaten much and had thrown it up. But just as I took a couple of steps, a sharp pain shot through my stomach. I ran to the bathroom and, holding on to the toilet, started to retch. There was nothing in my stomach to throw up, so I just dry heaved until I was spitting up brown blood. Seeing this, he, who had followed me in, held me by the shoulders. I was so thin, his hands almost circled me completely. Quinn? He helped me to the sink and I rinsed my mouth. He asked me with a serious expression, have you been to the hospital since you got back? I shook my head. He immediately picked me up, grabbed the keys, and went downstairs. On my back, I was in so much pain I couldn't speak. In the taxi, he, with his experience, kept pressing on the pressure point on my hand, to ease the pain in my stomach. Sir, can you drive a little faster? He urged. The driver, seeing my condition in the rearview mirror, also silently sped up. The whole time I was at the hospital, I was in a daze. Until after my stomach was pumped, and he came to my room with the report. He sat by my bed, his brow furrowed as he looked at my medical records. The hospital stool was a little low for him, so his long legs were spread out, his knees high. Do you want to be admitted? He asked me. What did the doctor say? The doctor said it's not necessary, but then I don't want to. I didn't want to be in a place with so many people. It didn't feel safe. He was silent for a moment. All right. But from now on, we have to come to the hospital every day to have your dressing changed and to get a checkup. I could feel that some of my wounds had been treated. And for now, you can only have porridge and other liquid foods. Even without him saying it, I could have guessed. 3 months of eating stale buns and spoiled rice, and starving. My stomach must have been ruined. Ethan. But I'm so hungry right now. His eyes were full of pity. He had found out from the doctor that I had probably eaten something that had remained in my stomach, undigested, and that was why my stomach had to be pumped. He gently placed his hand on my forehead, as if to comfort me, and promised, I'll make the porridge delicious. Trust me, okay? And he did. He was an excellent cook. Even the simplest porridge, he could make it taste amazing. Thanks to him, my health improved a lot. And just as I was reaching for my 3rd bowl of cashew porridge for lunch today, he stopped me. His eyes crinkled into a smile. Just a moment to get some juice, and the little glutton is already at it again? Seeing that my plan had failed, I dejectedly put my bowl in the sink. He put down the fruit he was cutting and came over. I'll do the dishes. You go watch TV on the sofa. I nodded, not in the mood. He suddenly grabbed me and pulled me back, trapping me between the sink and his body. You're ignoring me because I won't let you have any more porridge? I didn't speak, just pouted and looked away. He laughed. The doctor said you can start eating solid food tomorrow. I'll take you for that Hangzhou cuisine. My eyes lit up. Really? Really? His expression was doting. He let me go, patted me on the back, and sent me to the sofa. He then went back to the kitchen. I sat on the sofa and started to play with the bank card my parents had left me. Besides the money, which was a lifeline, it was also a memento. I suddenly felt that I was a blessed child. Their love had never left me, even before their accident, they had been planning for my future. He was like a gift from them. I put the bank card away. Since it was a dowry, I had to keep it safe. The TV was on the news. After a short musical interlude, a glaring headline suddenly appeared. Heiress of Hayes Group, kidnapped, returns barefoot to city, disheveled and deranged, a shadow of her former self. I slammed the TV off, my breathing ragged. I told myself, it's all in the past. I will never see those people again. I will never see him again. After a long time, my heart finally returned to a normal rhythm. Just then, the doorbell rang. I guessed it was another package he had ordered. After all, since I had moved in, the entire loft had been decorated and furnished by him. Without a second thought, I got up to open the door. But outside, I saw the person I least wanted to see. Ava, holding a few bags of fruit, smiled brightly when she saw me. Miss Quinn. I heard you were in the hospital recently. I came to visit you. I asked her coldly, how did you know? She thought for a moment and then, with an innocent expression, of course, Mr. Hayes told me. Thump, thump, thump. My heart was pounding like a drum. How did he know? Was he spying on me? If she knew my address, did that mean he knew too? Was he coming to find me? Get out. I tried to say, wanting to close the door. But she blocked it. After being cursed at, she finally dropped her pretense, her eyes turning venomous. Quinn, Mr. Hayes already knows your address. You'd better move out. Stop clinging to him. I'm not. She sneered. You're not? The beatings from those kidnappers must have hurt, right? I heard they used sticks, whips, and even the curling iron you had in your bag. It must have been so painful when they burned your skin. And the stale food they gave you. Even a dog wouldn't eat it. But you did. My pupils contracted, and I almost collapsed. The things I wanted to forget the most. She was tearing off the scabs. You. How did you know? Her expression was triumphant. I was the one who suggested he delay the ransom payment to teach you a lesson. You were such a spoiled, arrogant brat, always clinging to him. So, I hinted to the kidnappers that the more you were beaten, the faster the money would come. I almost collapsed. Why? Why would she do that? And why would he do that? The last bit of my sanity snapped. I grabbed her like a madwoman. I bit her, wanting to drag her down the stairs with me, to die together. He, in the house, heard the commotion and ran to the door. Quinn. I couldn't hear anything. I had only one thought in my mind, to kill her. He forcibly separated us and held me in his arms. I was crying uncontrollably. He pushed her away, who was trying to lunge at me again, without any mercy. She hit the stair railing with a thud, and the pain made her unable to stand. What are you two doing? A stern voice interrupted us. He was still in his suit, as composed as ever, a stark contrast to my disheveled state. I was so pathetic. He went up the stairs and, seeing me in his arms, his face darkened even more. He turned and helped her up. Mr. Hayes, I was just trying to visit Miss Quinn, but she wouldn't let me. She even tried to hit me. Maybe it's because she found out that I'm living with him. Living together? He was furious. He didn't speak, just held me, constantly patting my shoulder. Seeing that I had calmed down a little, he tried to take me back to the room, but he blocked his way. Quinn, stop it. Come home with me. His tone was a command. He still thought I was just throwing a tantrum. He tried to pull me from his arms, but he was blocked. Mr. Hayes, this is her home. Quinn? You're on a first-name basis. Is that why you quit? He quit? I looked up, but I could only see his sharp, angular jaw. As the two of them were at a standstill, she suddenly cried out in pain. Mr. Hayes, I'm in so much pain. He looked at me, then at her, and finally, he turned and picked her up. Before he left, he said, Quinn, I'm giving you one last chance. If you don't come home this time, you'll never have to. I was so scared I was trembling. He whispered in my ear, don't be afraid. I'm here. After she had caused such a scene, I decided to move. My original intention was to have him never find me again. But all my movements, they were still under his watch. He was all for it, but at the moment, there were no suitable properties available. How about you stay at my place for now? He already knew this address. He was afraid he would come looking for me when he wasn't around. Your place? I asked. He was still so prone to blushing, but he had made some progress. At least he could look me in the eye in this situation. Yes. Don't get the wrong idea. I have 2 bedrooms. It's enough. But we can't always be staying in 2 bedrooms. It was like this at my place, and it would be like this at his place. When were we going to make her living together accusation a reality? His eyes widened slightly, as if I had said something outrageous. My own face was not red, my heart not pounding. Teasing him had become second nature. Quinn. I took out the bank card my parents had left me and said to him with great seriousness, Ethan, you know, I'm the Hayes family's adopted daughter, a plaything they can cast aside at any moment. But I also have a sincere heart. Though most of it is tainted, there's still a little bit that is clean. This little bit of sincerity. I wonder if you're willing to accept it. His eyes reddened. He said, cautiously, Quinn, your heart has always been clean. Even a little bit. I would be honored to accept it. I was moved and hugged him. After a while, I remembered to put the bank card in his hand. Dowry. He was a little embarrassed. Even though it was a dowry, it felt like I was the one proposing to him. He laughed. Sweetheart, take it back. A dowry should be kept by the bride. Oh, so a dowry should be kept by the bride. He pulled me back into his arms and whispered in my ear, dowry is dowry. But from now on, the money in the house is also yours. Home. I liked that word. Fortunately, I didn't have much stuff. He packed for a day, and we moved. His house was as clean and tidy as I had imagined. I peeked into his bedroom. The scent of citrus wafted from the half-open window. It smelled so good. What are you standing there for? Go in. He patted my head from behind. I happily jumped onto his bed. It was so soft and comfortable. He lay down beside me. After a long day, he was also a little tired. Sleep. I snuggled into the soft pillow, holding one of his slightly rough hands, and drifted off to sleep. When I woke up, it was already dark. In the bedroom, the bedside lamp was on. In the dim light, he was on his laptop, working. Seeing me awake, he quickly closed his laptop, pulled out the USB drive, and then took a bowl of silver ear soup from the nightstand. It was still warm. After drinking the soup, I fell asleep again. The next day, he was gone. For 3 consecutive days, I followed the menu he had left on the fridge, taking out the pre-made meals from the cold storage. They were all tasteless. I missed him, but I didn't know what he was doing. My phone. There were no missed calls. On the contrary, it was a full page of calls I had rejected, a number I had once known by heart. I was going to go out and look for him, even thought about reporting him missing to the police. But the police couldn't even find the people who had kidnapped me. Could I trust them? I left the house in a daze. As I was walking down the alley, someone suddenly pulled me into a car. When I woke up again, I was on the bed in my room. To be precise, the room in the Hayes mansion. The room was dark. Moonlight streamed through the window, but I saw a figure sitting in the darkness, staring at me. Ah! I was so scared I hid under the covers. The person quickly turned on the light and came over to comfort me. Quinn, I just wanted you to get a good night's sleep. I'm sorry. I scared you. The voice was like a nightmare. I hesitated and pulled the covers down, my whole body cold. Mr. Hayes. He pulled the covers down, his expression hurt. Quinn, you used to like to call me Brother Liam. I shook my head, just wanting him to get away from me. My chest felt so tight I could barely breathe. I don't dare anymore. I don't dare to bother you anymore. I remembered this one sentence day and night, a sentence that could save me from a beating. His emotions seemed to be a little agitated too. He was red-eyed, trying to control himself. Quinn, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know that delaying the ransom for a few days would bring you. They promised me they wouldn't. Wouldn't? What wouldn't? They wouldn't hit me? He could have saved me. I didn't want to remember those things. There were always people who would make me remember them over and over again. He seemed to know what I had been through. But all I wanted to know was where he was. Do you know where Ethan is? He grabbed my wrist, his voice both forceful and pleading. Quinn, forget him. Let's start over, okay? Hearing this, I couldn't control myself anymore. I got up and shook him off. In the dimly lit room, my waist hit the corner of the table. Quinn. I knelt down, just as I had in his car that day when he had come to pick me up. Mr. Hayes, please give him back to me. He's all I have. Please. Please. He wanted to come and hug me. Quinn, your knees are injured. Get up and talk. Get up, okay? I dodged his hand, my voice frantic. He's all I have. Liam. You just want me to die. Don't touch him. I'll die. I'll go and die. He was on the verge of a breakdown, shaking his head in despair. Quinn, I never. How could I want you to die? Bang. I smashed the vase on the table, picked up a shard, and held it to my throat. Where is he? He was completely dejected. Quinn, I really don't know. Don't move. Don't hurt yourself. I was stunned for a moment, then I understood. So that's it. You don't believe I'll die? Doctor, he shouted. A doctor and a bodyguard rushed in at the same time. I was restrained, and he seized the opportunity to snatch the sharp ceramic shard from my hand. A tranquilizer was injected into me. I instantly lost all my strength and emotions. The private doctors were busy bandaging his cut hand. I'm fine. Go check on her. Mr. Hayes, don't worry. Miss Quinn just has a superficial scratch. An insignificant wound. The doctor just wrapped a couple of bandages around it. But Miss Quinn's psychological trauma is very serious. She needs proper treatment. I know. Thank you. After a flurry of activity, the room was quiet again, with just the two of us. I lay on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, my consciousness seeming to float outside my body. Seeing me like this, he almost choked. Quinn. Please give me a chance to atone for my sins. I will make it up to you. The tranquilizer seemed to be very effective. My heart, which had been in turmoil, was now calm. I could even recall the most terrible memories. Make it up. Yes, make it up. How are you going to make it up? Let me think. He, as if he had seen a glimmer of hope, excitedly held my hand. I was kidnapped for 3 months. At first, they thought I was valuable, so they treated me well. They would just scare me every day, threatening to dump my body in the wilderness if they didn't get the money. Oh, right. At that time, they would throw me half a stale bun every day. I couldn't eat it, but I never thought that soon I wouldn't even have that. Later, they called you and made me scream. What did you say? You said it was annoying, that if they had something to say, they should talk to your assistant. A little while after you hung up, one of them kicked me in the stomach. I fell to the ground with the chair. Gradually, they became more and more reckless. They realized that even if they hit a rich young miss like me, nothing would happen. After all, no one cared. So they would beat me every day, taking out their frustrations on me. I saw his body start to tremble. Can't handle this? Then what about what comes next? And later, when they couldn't get the money, they lost their patience. Whips, steel needles, clubs, and even the curling iron I had in my bag that day. They would plug it in and burn my skin. I could smell my own flesh burning. With every word, he became more and more distraught. He could hardly look at me, but he was also afraid I would disappear if he looked away. He was torn and in agony. But I didn't care. Why should I? Quinn, why didn't you wait for me to come and get you? Tell me, and I will kill them. I tilted my head and said, with a fake smile, the ransom was never paid. They said they were going to kill me. Do you know? In that moment, I actually thought, finally, I can be free. I could even see my parents' faces. They were waiting for me on the other side. But they told me to live a good life. I don't know where I got the strength, but I escaped. It was a forest, then a field, and then a highway. I slept in rain shelters, in trees, ate leaves, drank rainwater. If I was lucky, I would find a trash can. And I would eat the same things those people used to give me, spoiled food. And just like that, I walked for days and nights, dozens of miles, back to you. And you said to me, so dirty. Haha. He could no longer support himself and knelt on the floor. His eyes were terrifyingly red. He looked at me, completely hopeless. Quinn, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know about the ransom. I didn't know you came back like that. Liam, can you and Ava experience what I've been through? You can't make it up to me. But I forgive you. Really? He asked, in disbelief, his trembling hand grabbing mine. Really? As long as you give him back to me. That night, he stood by my bed for a long time. His eye sockets were sunken, and he looked as if he had been through a great deal. He still said he didn't know where he was. I didn't want to talk to him anymore. Until his phone rang. He tucked me in and left, his figure desolate. I stayed at his house, unable to leave. A psychologist would come to my room every day for treatment. She was a beautiful woman. She never pressed me about my past, just told me interesting stories every day. Later, I started to trust her and opened up to her, asking her if she had a lover. She said yes and showed me the diamond ring on her hand, happily telling me that they were about to get married. I congratulated her and told her about him. She was very encouraging. That night, I sat by the bed, staring at the moon for a long time. I subconsciously wanted to see if he had contacted me, and then I remembered my phone had been confiscated. So I could only look at the moon. Looking and looking, I opened the window and jumped. The smell of disinfectant in the hospital was nauseating. I woke up with a splitting headache, feeling as if all my bones were broken. The argument outside the room grew louder and louder, gradually reaching my ears. No wonder she wasn't close to us when she came back. She must have thought we abandoned her. Liam, how could I have raised such a monster? How am I supposed to face her aunt and uncle? Dad, Mom, I didn't expect this either. I just wanted her to be a little more obedient. Smack, a crisp slap. Then, a few muffled grunts. I thought it was his uncle hitting him again, but then I heard his aunt scream. Ethan! Ethan! I wanted to get out of bed, but I fell to the floor. Oh, right. My leg was broken. My room was only on the second floor. A jump like that wouldn't kill me. Hearing the noise, he burst in from outside. He was covered in dust, his chin unshaven, as if he hadn't shaved in days. Ethan! I threw a piece of fruit from the bedside table at him. He was hit, but his expression was tense and worried. He rushed over and picked me up, putting me back on the bed. His mother called for a doctor. The doctor gave me a cursory examination. The patient should not get out of bed for the next 2 weeks. Her knee has an irreversible injury. Any more reckless movements, and she might lose her leg. It was clear the doctor was a little angry. He quickly apologized, saying I would never do it again. The doctor gave the people who were surrounding me a strange look and said to me, "If you need help, or legal aid, just let me know." With that, he left to do his rounds. Right. With injuries like mine, it was hard not to have some suspicions. He came up and hugged me, smelling of dust. I pushed him away. His mother came up and hugged me. This time I didn't dare to push. "My dear, you've suffered so much. It's all my fault. I failed to raise my son properly." I comforted her. "It's okay, Auntie. It's all in the past." He stood silently in a corner of the room, full of guilt. He probably never expected me to jump out of a window. "Get over here." "Kneel before her," his father ordered. He obediently walked over. I looked at him for help. He pulled him up. "She can't bear it." "Yes, Uncle. I've been raised by the Hayes family for so long. This time. Just consider it my repayment to the family." His mother, hearing this, cried even harder. "Dear, are you trying to cut ties with us?" I shook my head. I wasn't cutting ties with them. Just with him. "Uncle, Auntie, I was foolish before. I caused you so much trouble. My parents are long gone. Thank you for raising me. In my heart, you are my real parents." His uncle couldn't help but tear up. He came over and patted my hand. "It's the Hayes family that has wronged you." After a long talk, his parents left, saying they would come back tomorrow to see me. He stood outside the door, not willing to leave. "Quinn, we're really over, aren't we?" Hearing this, he wanted to go and hit him again, but I held him back. "Yes. 7 years is a long time, Liam. A person only has so many 7 years. After I was discharged, he took me to the police station. With his help, all the people who had kidnapped me were arrested. Hey, I heard Captain Ethan retired and became a bodyguard for some rich family. Why is he back in action now? Shoo, you haven't heard? Captain Ethan was taken in by a rich young miss. But then the young miss was kidnapped. Of course, he had to come out of retirement to save her. I, the subject of the gossip, was sitting in the hallway, eating the green bean cake he had bought for me, and listening to my own story. "Little miss, why are you sitting here all by yourself? Where are your family?" I pointed to the room inside. He came out with a dark face. The two police officers stood at attention and saluted. "Captain Ethan. You too, stop spreading rumors." He pulled me up from the chair. The police officer's eyes widened, watching as the little miss became their sister-in-law. "Why not? I think it's a good story." The police officers. His participation in this case after his retirement was considered a heroic act by a citizen. After giving his statement, he was even given a commendation. He was a little embarrassed. After all, he had had his own selfish reasons. What's there to be embarrassed about? You did such a thing, you're going to be in our family's history. He held an umbrella for me. We bought some groceries and walked home. Your family has a history? Of course. All right then. You have to write this down. Or maybe I should just go and burn some incense for your aunt and uncle tonight. Writing a letter is too slow. After he came back, he comforted me for a long time. When I found out that he had been on a sudden mission and hadn't had time to wake me up, and had just left, I was still scared. He said that fortunately, there was a week's worth of food in the fridge. And after a week, he would have been back. But he never expected me to go out and look for him, and to be caught by him. That night, before dinner, I was curled up on the sofa, holding my ID card in one hand and my phone in the other. In the kitchen, he was chopping vegetables and talking to me in a loud voice. "Ava has been arrested. The court has already filed a lawsuit against her. Liam is a suspect in an intentional homicide. He'll probably be called in for questioning. I'll write him a letter of understanding." At some point, the sound of chopping in the kitchen stopped. He came and stood behind me, suddenly hugging me. "So you're writing him a letter of understanding? How about you show some understanding for me?" I glared at him. He quickly apologized. I checked the almanac. Tomorrow is a good day. He found my missing slippers from the bedroom and brought them to me. A good day to get married. I kicked him. "What are you ing about? Tomorrow, bring your ID, and we're going to the Civil Affairs Bureau." He suddenly stood up straight, as happy as a puppy. He hugged me and rubbed against me. "I knew it. You're the best to me." The day we got our marriage license, I made a point of telling his parents. That night, I took him and the letter of understanding to his parents' house for dinner. Now, I could only eat a little solid food. And he, feeling that he was now my rightful husband, was even stricter with me. His mother held my hand and asked with a smile, "Dear, when do you want to have the wedding? Let me know in advance, so I can prepare." His father took out a pair of jade pendants. They were clearly very valuable. "Your aunt had these made for you on your 18th birthday. She's been waiting for this day." I took them and thanked him. He was not there the whole time. When we were leaving, I suddenly felt like someone was watching me. I turned my head, but there was no one there. "What's wrong?" he asked me. "Nothing." He stood in the darkness, holding a photo frame on the verge of tears. Inside was a picture of him as a young boy with a girl. The bright, arrogant me, the me whose eyes were only for him. She was never coming back.